reading, Chapter 4. Screech hurried to the Bayside Beacon offices first thing on Monday morning. He knew Nanny would be there. Ever since she'd been promoted from gossip columnist to features editor, she spent every chance she could at the school paper. He knocked softly, and pushed open the door. He expected to see Nanny sitting at the computer, or proofing copy, or doing another of the many tasks she did so brilliantly. But she was just staring out the window with a dazed expression on her face. Perfect! She wouldn't be distracted here. "Nanny, can I talk to you a minute?" Screech asked. She turned to him in slow motion, a dreamy smile on her face. Then she blinked. "Screech, it's you! I was thinking about someone. Something else. What's up?" "I wanted to tell you something," Screech said. "I told you at the party, but I don't think you really heard me." "Oh, sorry. I guess I was pretty distracted, huh?" Nanny said. She pushed her wire rims further up her nose. It was a gesture Screech knew well. His heart ached. How could he have thrown this relationship away without even knowing it? This wasn't tickets to the Lakers game for him and Zach, or the check his grandmother had sent him for Christmas. When he'd thrown an important thing away before, everything had always turned out okay. But this time he couldn't go through the trash and find it, like he had with the tickets. And he couldn't write to his grandmother for another one, as he did with the check. But he couldn't lose Nanny either. Nanny impatiently tapped a finger on her notebook. "Screech, what do you want to tell me?" Screech had rehearsed what he'd planned to tell her. He wanted to sound mature and convincing, and to say that he had decided to really take charge of his life and do something meaningful. But instead, he just blurted it out. "I got a job." "With my dad, I know," Nanny said. She flipped open the cover of her notebook. "I heard you at the party. I'm really happy for you, Screech." But she didn't say it right, Screech thought, despairingly. She said she was happy for him, the way she'd say she liked catsup on her burger. "You are?" "Sure. Working at a newspaper is fun and great experience. My dad's happy too. He thinks you're really smart." Nanny looked up at him. "Have you seen Cal Everhart this morning?" "Who?" "Cal," Nanny said, looking down. Her light brown hair swung against her rosy cheeks. I have an advanced copy of that feature we worked on. I thought he'd like to see it." "I haven't seen him," Screech said. He frowned. This wasn't the first time he'd noticed Nanny's interest in Cal. He could be pretty thick, but he wasn't that thick. So that was who his big rival was. "Oh," Nanny said with a sigh. "Is there anything else, Screech?" "No," Screech said. "Nothing." He walked out and closed the door behind him. Now he knew what he had to do. Just getting the job wasn't enough. He had to become a great journalist. He had to crack a big story and get a byline. There was only one question. Could he do it in time to get a date with Nanny for the full moon ball? Zach was starting down the hall towards his locker when he felt his collar pulled tight. He was yanked backwards, choking. "Grah!" "Ah," he gasped. That's 5 A's, yeah. Ah. He felt himself being pulled back around the corner into the empty hall. Then he was whipped around. Zach met the worried hazel eyes of his partner in crime. "We have to talk," Jesse said. "I'll try," Zach croaked as he pulled at his collar. "As soon as my larynx returns to its normal size." "They're onto us, Zach," Jesse wailed. "Kelly told me she knew our flirtation was all just an act." Jesse nibbled nervously at her fingernail. "I guess I'm just not a very good actress." "This is a delicate situation," Zach mused. "I guess it calls for a pro." Suddenly, Jesse poked him hard in the chest. "And you didn't help any at Nanny's party, Buster. You were practically welded to that girl, Irina." "I was just trying to make her feel welcome," Zach said huffily. "Don't give me that," Jesse said, waving her hand. "It didn't work on Kelly, and it doesn't work on me. You left me stranded at that party. Now, Do you want Kelly back or not? I'm sorry, Jesse. Zach said, You're right, we have to follow through on this. Well, okay, Jesse said in a mollified tone. I just found out that Kelly and Slater are playing tennis at the city courts today at 4 o'clock. I think we should have a tennis date too. And we should have much more fun than they do. I catch your drift, Zach said. It's a good plan. We'll act real surprised to see them there. Zach caught a flash of red skirt swirling around a terrific pair of legs. He looked over Jesse's shoulder. It was Irina! She looked prettier than ever in a simple skirt and a white blouse. Silver earrings dangling from her perfect little ears. So meet me at the courts at 4, Jesse said. Or should we drive up together? Sure, Jesse, Zach babbled. I'll meet you there at 4. It will be perfect. Now I have to get to class. Okay, Jesse said grudgingly. I have to get to home ec. But don't forget, Zach. Forget what? Oh, Zach said. Tennis, right. Bye, Jesse. He ran around the corner just in time to see Irina consult a piece of paper as she surveyed the lockers. Zach hurried forward. Can I be of assistance, he asked. I'm Zach Morris. We met at Nanny's party. Of course. I remember you, Zach. Irina's dark eyes sparkled. You're the one who brought me 17 sodas. You said you were thirsty, Zach said, flashing a grin. And I didn't know which one you liked. Now I have to find my locker, Irina said, frowning as she examined the paper. But there are so many. Just like American sodas. It's very confusing. Zach leaned over and looked at the number. Number 566. You're right down here. Probably. He led Irina to the last locker in the row. Thank you, Zach, she said, opening it. Everything is so new to me. I feel like a little baby crawling around. She leaned closer. Nanny had to get to school early today, so I came alone. I took the wrong bus 3 times, but don't tell anyone. I won't, Zach promised. He felt as if Jesse was yanking on his collar again. He was kind of dizzy. Up close, Irina's dark eyes and fair skin seemed to glow. He hadn't felt this way about a girl since, well, Kelly. Irina, could I show you around Palisades? Zach asked. It's a real easy town to get around in, once you get to know it. I'll show you the main roads and the beaches. Irina smiled. That would be wonderful, Zach. I'd like to get oriented here. Could we do it this afternoon after school? She leaned forward to place her books in her locker, and perfume wafted towards Zach. It smelled like spices and musk, like nothing he'd ever smelled before. This afternoon would be perfect, he said dazedly. I'll meet you right here. Irina smiled at him and walked off. She moved like a dancer, Zach thought, leaning against her locker. He ran his hands along the metal door she had slammed. I'll spend the whole afternoon alone with her, he thought. The whole afternoon. ... Zach straightened with a jerk. Jesse! He'd promised to play tennis with her at 4. He'd just have to think of an excuse. He couldn't give up this date with Irina. But he couldn't tell Jesse the truth. Not after what happened at Nanny's party. Zach groaned. Life just wasn't fair. He felt like he was cheating on his girlfriend, and he didn't even have one. When Jessie walked into home ec, she saw that her usual seat next to Lisa and Kelly was empty. Kelly's blue eyes were frosty as she caught sight of Jessie. She quickly looked away, as if she didn't care where Jessie sat. Tossing her head, Jessie took a seat on the opposite side of the room. She opened her notebook and pretended to look over her notes while the class waited for Mrs. Miniver to appear. The bell rang, and Mrs. Miniver didn't show up. The class began to murmur. Mrs. Miniver was a control freak. She was never late. A few moments later, Mr. Belding hurried into the room. Sorry, class, he said. Mrs. Miniver will not be in today, or tomorrow. As a matter of fact, she's taking a little time off. What happened, Mr. Belding? Kelly asked, concerned. Well, this week